Okay, I'm gonna say the first verse, you guys complete it. Okay? Do not judge and you will not be judged. Blank. What's after? Do not judge and you will not be judged. Do not. It also starts with do not. Do not con.
Do not.
Do not. Hello guys! Paano na yung Bible study?
Do not buy.
Okay, do not con.
Do not
Condemn.
Condemn when you are guilty and you will not be condemned.
condemn.
There's two more. Forgive.
And
you
you will be forgiven.
Hello guys. It's okay, no worries. I'll read the verse. Our memory verse for today is Luke chapter 6 verse 37. Do not judge and you will not be judged. Do not condemn and you will not
I
be
say do not
condemned.
condemn. You didn't
Forgive.
hear me.
And you will not be forgiven. And you will be forgiven. Amen. So that's Luke chapter 6 verse 37, and that's the verse that we are going to be talking about today. And I'm sure that everyone is aware of this verse, or if you haven't fully memorized this verse, at least everyone knows the gist of what it means. So similar to this verse, Jesus left us with a principle, a very important principle, which is do to others what you want done to you. Amen. And this is what is implied in this verse, Luke chapter 6, verse 37. Do not judge, you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. So this verse was spoken by Jesus, and he's teaching his disciples to love their enemies and make conscious decisions to act in the best interests of others, even your enemies. Ang hirap, no? If you were to forgive your enemies, it's a hard thing. Easier said than done. But God is teaching us to love others just as you love yourself, even if they're your enemies. So with that said, can we apply this principle in our lives? Amen.
Amen.
So when Jesus says, do not judge and you will not be judged, Jesus is not saying that we must not judge other people so that they won't judge us. You can't avoid people judging you, especially with the world that we live in, with so many standards, high standards, including sa beauty, wealth, occupation. Even narinig ko kay Mami Brenda, high maintenance. Charis. But in this world that we live in, it's sad to say, but we have very high standards. And especially when it comes to love life, mga jowa, and gano'n. Anyways. Charis lang yun. Inspiration. And Jesus is not teaching us to let people believe what they want to believe. Obviously, there are things that people believe that is not true. And God is not saying let them do let them believe whatever they believe. But God is rather teaching us, Jesus was talking about God judging others. Do not judge others and you will not be judged by God. Do not condemn and you will not be condemned by God. Forgive others and you will be forgiven by God. So, talking about this verse, it kind of reminded me of the story, the adulterous woman. I don't know if you're familiar, but we studied this in our youth. Thank God for the life of Pastor Mike, Kuya Mike, our messenger in youth. And this story was brought back to my attention because if you don't know the story, it's basically a group of righteous people. They brought an adulterous woman in front of Jesus, and they said, this woman has committed adultery. Okay? And Jesus, what his reaction? He stooped down and wrote on the sand, on the dirt. He stood up and he said, those who have not sinned, you can throw the first stone. Now, it kind of reminded me because Jesus stooped down to her level. Jesus stooped down to her level and said to those who haven't sinned, throw the first stone. Imagine this. Everyone here has sinned. And in that story, the people, one by one, they left after Jesus said that. So it's kind of like that. If you forgive those who are doing wrong to you, Jesus will forgive you. Imagine if you were that woman. She hasn't condemned anyone. She hasn't condemned herself. So Jesus did not condemn her. And as people, it's so sad to say that we're quick to judge. We're very quick to judge. And I'm not saying that I'm righteous in any way. I am not righteous. And we were also talking about Kuya Mike kasi in the entertainment industry that I'm in, there's a lot of people na, who are like that. Pero I told Kuya Mike kasi he was asking me, how do you cope up with, the industry I am in? I said there's many people that I have experienced with those type of personalities, especially part of that community. But I always told him na I do not condemn others because I'm not righteous. Instead, I rather pray for them. And, I still respect them for who they are. And especially from that community. So, ayun. That's just a short story that I just shared with you with our little chat with Kuya Mike. Pero the point is, we need to be careful how we judge. Because a lot of us judge mercilessly. And do not judge according to human standards, please, guys. Human standards are made by humans. It's not, and they're very high, especially with the generation that we are, living in. The standards are so high. So, in other words, in verse 36, it says, do not judge mercilessly. Do you want God to judge you without any mercy? Do you want God to judge you without compassion? So God will apply the same standards of judgment to us that we apply to others. So if you judge others mercilessly, He will judge you mercilessly. And as I said in verse 36, be merciful just as your Father was merciful. Don't worry, guys. Almost done. Furthermore, verse 36 illustrates this point. Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Amen? Listen pa kayo? Okay. So, as verse 36 illustrates, I want you to think of it like this. Verse 38, it's like opening a bag of chips or opening a box of food or candy, and it was not full. Diba sa bakala, if you buy your chips, like for example Lay's, you open it, it's only half full. It's half full. Kaya you think that you haven't gotten what you paid for. And we want a full box. We don't want just half of it. We want it full, and we don't want to purchase a bag of air. We didn't purchase a bag of air. We purchased a bag of chips. So if you'd like, you can close your eyes, or you can just visualize it like this. Imagine it. A good measure is one where grains were put in and pressed down and shaken so that there's no extra space. That's what God is teaching us. What it says in verse 38, a good measure. And the measure was good and full. Then the grain would be poured in the cone and it would be overflowing. In a different container, it will be overflowing and running over. and that container will simply not hold anymore because it's full of grain. Now notice the teaching. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. So give a good measure to others, and God will give you a good measure back to you. Treat others how you want God to treat you. Amen. So that's just what I think the gospel's great foundation is, because it's true. It's also applied to love as well. If you do not love others, it's hard. If you don't love others, you will be quick to judge, you'll be quick to condemn, and you will be quick to not forgive people. You'll have a stubborn heart. So I think it's the basic foundation of love as well. Do not judge and you will not be judged. Do not condemn and you will not be condemned. Forgive and you will be forgiven. Amen. So that was our short exhortation for today. And it's also one of my it's one of the memory verses that I keep close to my heart. Amen. So to God be all the glory. Amen. So let us